we should start?
No.
I thought we were going to wait a couple minutes.
Do you want to wait?
Well,
For all
I
the
mean,
stragglers, I mean,
the doors are
you
closed.
can let in
okay.
the rest of the line now. Thank you.
Alright, so welcome, everyone.
Yo,
We're going to go in the line, or?
yeah, we'll go. So, oh my god, it's my face. I'm Axial, you can tell, I'm the biggest one of all of them, 10 out of 10. I go by he, they pronouns, and I run Rooster Teeth, Arizona. Unfortunately. Just kidding, it's a joke, guys.
Because you got them in the audience right now, you're saying it's a joke? It wasn't a joke before you guys got here. Hi, I'm Stephanie. My pronouns are she, her. Hi. I help run RT Gamer Girls, I run RVJ, Red vs. Jew, and I help run RT New England. Busy bee, I have 3 community admin stickers on my thing.
And she's an utter badass.
I am, thank you. I will not just be that. Spit your fast.
My name is Taylor. I am an admin for the Rooster Teeth Dallas Fort Worth community. My pronouns are they, them, and somehow I got stuck on the panel with these guys.
Wow.
Somehow, also
Disrespectful.
We actually tried to keep them off.
No, I didn't. Don't tell them.
Yeah, but you can do it.
I was on her side. I was on
Thank you,
Zoey. And I am Zoey Reyes. I go by she, her pronouns, and I am an admin and the founder of RT LGBT. Thank you. If anybody has seen some of these really cool RT LGBT wristbands going around, later on we have a Q&A, and if you have a question, preferably a good one, we will be emailing you.
Yeah.
Define your good.
We will be great.
There's only
you know,
6 though, so think of nice things to say.
it doesn't have to be that good.
There were 200 of those at the beginning of the picnic, and there are 6 left.
There are 6 here, and then my fellow admin Jen has like another couple for the meetup later today at 7.
Whole couple.
Let's do this. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we'll be talking about. Just a quick summary of the panel is we're going to be talking about how to include as many people as possible in your community groups. And we will define what inclusive means, but basically we're going to tell you how to get as many people as possible into your group and how to make them as comfortable as possible while they're in your group.
Alright, so what does inclusively mean? I think a lot of us have a general idea. You may know like dictionary definition, but I think it can mean a variety of different things for a variety of different people. To us up here on the panel, we think of a lot of LGBT, different ethnicities, regions, religion, languages, making things accessible for people with medical issues, and making sure nobody feels left out, because that's so easy to happen. It's so easy to let something just kind of fall through the cracks. But making sure that you're there for a community or there for your friends that are also in the community is just so important. About the accessibility, like making sure that people can just actually go to your meetups or come on to your chats, go to your online events is just so important, because then people feel like they can be welcome into your group and like they can actually interact with your people without feeling uncomfortable, and I think that's just something that's really important for this community. You want to make sure that nobody is judged by their cover, because it's really easy to just kind of look at somebody, assume a pronoun, assume a name, just maybe because they might have a dead name that they have to go by, and you don't want to accidentally, make a butt out of you and them. I'm not going to
Assume.
Yeah. And also respecting boundaries is really important, so don't judge. Maybe a person is getting a hug from a lot of people just because they're getting hugs from maybe people that they know, doesn't mean you can just come up and give them a hug. That's not always okay. Respect boundaries.
Please don't touch people's hair out on the expo floor. I know my hair is big, please don't touch it.
As a guardian, I'm watching. I'm also expert.
So we talked we're gonna talk a little bit about the different kinds of groups that exist currently and that maybe some people are looking to create. We have a lot of regional groups that have representation at RTX this year. We have a lot of non-regional groups that are getting more representation this year, which I think is great. What is a location-based group? It is a group that is based on a location. So location, I know, right? So thank you. This is where, pause for applause. Examples of location-based groups that we have: RT Austin, RT Florida, RT DFW, RT Arizona, RT New York, New Jersey. We have a lot of state-based groups. We have a lot of city-based groups.
Country-based groups.
Country-based groups, especially for our European friends and neighbors.
And also Australia.
Yeah.
Where do we have?
And also Australia.
Australia,
I think
our
there's also
continental friends.
I think even there might be RT Central America.
Central America? Well, we have an RT Latino too.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, South America, more so, I think, is what he does. We have non-regional groups. Some non-regional groups, like anything that's based online and can have members wherever. Rooster Speak, which is a TeamSpeak-based community, which when you join their Discord, the Discord says drop Skype and TeamSpeak, which I think is hilarious. We have RT LGBT, we have The Bus, we have RT Gamer Girls, RT D&D. I run Red vs. Jew, which is a group for Jewish fans of, yeah, thank you. Why is it not called Juice 13? Because I already printed out the business cards by the time someone brought that up. So we have a lot of groups that are based on where you are, but it's not always easy to get together based on where you are. Like Arizona has multiple admins.
3 cities, and that's it. Nothing else exists in Arizona.
And they're all
just 3 cities.
distance. So we have a lot of non-regional groups that are based almost entirely online to make friends basically no matter where you are. Of course, you can join regional groups also no matter where you are, but we have a lot of non-regional groups too.
All right, so as far as location-based groups go, a lot of our groups are obviously central around events. You have meetups, either we'll have people host them at their house or watch the podcast, or maybe we'll organize a meetup somewhere at, since we're in Austin, a good example would be Dave & Buster's. We got some up in the Dallas area as well. But one of the key things is to make sure that not all of your events are restricted, especially by age, because a lot of our groups do have younger members who are under the age of 21, so making the majority of your meetups like making it a bar crawl or something like that, it's not always fair to your younger members. You want to make sure that as many people can attend as possible. And not just in age, but also accessibility, because you might have some members who use a wheelchair or use crutches. So one of the things I always try to do when I organize a meetup at a public place is I always try to go out and scout the event ahead of time, make sure that the venue is ADA compliant, that it is easily accessible, it's easy to find, that as many people can attend as possible, because you want to make sure that everyone is included and is able to have fun. But for example, not everyone's going to be able to do paintball, even though it's a lot of fun. I've been several times. But not everyone's going to be able to do that. So make sure you do have plenty of events in your calendar that are accessible to everyone in your community.
Some of us are simply not physically fit enough to do something like that.
Or some of us are simply not old enough to do anything at bars at all.
And
Chuck E.
And
Cheese
we'll
is
get
a
you
great
kicked
alternative.
out.
I believe it was.
Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe it was a member of RT UK that was talking about how they actually go from a non-age restricted area like a park, and then after a couple hours of hanging out, they eventually move to a bar or something to kind of chill out, because it allows for both types. So you can have people that maybe want to relax and spend some time with some friends that they haven't seen in a while, have some beers or whatever. And then you can also have some younger people out, maybe their parents, if they want to bring their kids, and that just makes that a little bit easier for them.
But another helpful tip is keeping things centralized. So things like Dallas, Fort Worth, or Arizona, and I'm going to keep bringing my group up for the rest of the day. So Arizona is literally, like I'm not kidding you, it's Tucson, Phoenix, and then Flagstaff are biggest cities, which are all 3 hours apart. So it's really hard getting everyone kind of in one area. So trying to make either having admins in those areas or trying to plan things as far in advance as you possibly can so that they can get that time to get centralization and, possibly staying at other people's houses. It's really good to help out with that, just because if you have big areas, it kind of excludes people who can't, get there or don't physically have the capability of driving there and that kind of thing. Also, Discord is great because you can add roles to things. I love roles. My love, Taylor, gave me the ability to do roles because I'm dumb and don't know how to do it. But Arizona has different roles for the different regions. We have, gender assignable roles and things like that. So it's always good to add those kinds of things. Like we have roles for different gaming setups. So if you want to talk about that stuff, you can add that specific group and be like, hey, Xbox fans, you want to hang out, do something? I don't know. I don't play games. But it just helps out kind of trying to find those kinds of people and hooking up and being like, hey, let's be friends. We homies now. But also don't exclude people from your specific area. So you can always plan things with other groups that are kind of close. Like California, that's not really close, that's 6 hours, but we still can plan something and, try and figure something out. So if someone who may be visiting in town is from somewhere else, definitely trying to include them in all of your kind of stuff is a huge help and also, gets a little friend on your side when, things may not be going your way. Yeah.
Yeah, if you are looking to start up a community and you need help with Discord bots, Taylor is in every single community that I've ever needed help
We're calling you out.
with. He's our bot bitch, it's great. But you can find someone who will help you. Discord bots are fantastic for helping you set up a community that includes as many people as possible. It makes them feel comfortable and gives them labels that will make them feel comfortable in your community. And having those bots in your Discord are a fantastic way to give people these options.
So going back to locally based groups, and especially for running events, one of the things that we always stress in RTDFW is that admins are not the only ones who are allowed to organize and host events. Anyone who is a member is allowed to do that, and they have access to host the event on our Facebook page. So I know before I even became a bot, I was posting and hosting my own events with RTDFW and actually had some pretty good turnouts. We as admins, we're here to help, but you don't always have to rely on us for running an event. You can ask us for your help and we will be, or you can ask us for our help, and we'll be more than happy to do that. But whenever you want to host an event, you don't always have to come to us, hey, I want to do a thing. I don't know if I have to, what do I have to do? Or I don't know if I have to get permission. You don't have to get permission from us. Just if you want to host a thing, just do it. Get as many people of the community involved as possible.
Just give us the deeds so we can shout it out.
For sure,
Keep it in.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and keep it close.
No strip clubs. No community trips.
No,
Community
that's not
strip
community
clubs.
sanctioned.
Community trips. What?
I said, going to strip clubs is not community sanctioned.
That is not a community sanctioned event.
Not at any of my.
You want to host that on your personal Facebook page? I can't stop you from doing that. Please do not make that an official group event.
I mean, RT LGBT has used this sort of method. We actually have an event post role in our Discord just so that they have some access to some more resources, like some accounts that they may need. Generally, just talk to them, make sure that they're cool to run these types of things. They can, of course, run stuff without even asking. In many of the cases, we have a Minecraft server. Oftentimes, everybody will just talk into it, hey, let's just go all jump on and go play some Monopoly or do one of the Mad King games, and that's really awesome. And it's so fucking cool when it happens because then you get to see all these people having fun and you just help facilitate it.
Yeah. Also make yourself available if something should happen. If one of your community members reaches out to you and says, hey, an admin wasn't in on this voice chat, but something really uncomfortable happened, make sure you're available to talk about it, because that has happened and it will happen again.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's definitely not the easiest job in the world, but it's one of the most rewarding jobs, I feel. That sounds very cynical. That's fine. But relying on, your I'm a normal person and like to sleep. So I'm not on all the time. So I have a couple people that, for some reason, don't like to sleep, and are always on. And it's great to just be like, okay, so like, seriously, they'll call me if anything goes wrong, if you really need me, but like, you guys got it. And it's good to have that, because you can't have the whole community on your shoulders. It's not safe for your mental health, and you know, you gotta take a break sometimes.
Your
There's
mental
nothing
health
wrong with
should
that.
always come first.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
At the end of the day, it boils down to you're part of a team, so you should act like it. And because it's nice.
You cannot take care of other people if you can't take care of yourself. Put on your oxygen mask on the plane before you help the child next to you with it. Take care of yourself first. If you burn out, you cannot do anything.
It is crazy, sometimes how easily that can happen though. Like,
Yeah.
when I first started RT LGBT about just over a year ago, it was actually, I believe, May of last year, I was the only person that was on as an admin, and within about maybe a week, we had about 100 people. And so I was like trying to create all these chats, all this stuff, and then I met this lovely person named Jen Wanta, who was a guardian here, and one of my fellow admins, and we've been kicking butt ever since with our team. And that's just like, it's so easy to burn out, and having other people there for you is a lifesaver.
Yeah, when RT Gamer Girls first started, one of our admins was in school, one of our admins was in Spain on a school trip for like weeks and weeks and weeks at a time, and I was doing a lot of stuff because no one else was available, and I ended up having to reach out to Tasha because I was like, I'm way overwhelmed with doing all this stuff, and I feel like I'm doing this alone. So then we brought Mac on our team because we needed help, and it's okay to reach out for help. You need more people on your team. You can't do it by yourself, and even if you have multiple people on your team, if you still need help, bring people in and reach out.
Okay, so non-regional communities like RT LGBT, Booster Speak, and other things like that have great many ways of also including other people and making sure things are open for people to feel like they can make themselves at home and speak freely and actually kind of get past that initial difficulty of talking to someone for the first time and meeting somebody for the first time. Discord is what a lot of communities are using right now. It's a really great tool for inclusion. It has the ability to have roles like we've talked about a couple times. RT LGBT has pronoun roles so that people can assign themselves and then just look at the little sidebar and be like, okay, if I'm referencing this person, I can just use they, them, and kind of go from there. And I think it's just made things a lot easier. You don't have to assume, you don't have to ask and if they're offline, you know, you don't have to worry about accidentally misgendering somebody when you can't get a response. And I know we also use things like the event host. We use things to just also tag interests for like RT related stuff. And then we also, even recently for Pride Month, we did one of just like you could pick whatever color you want. Just because it was for the Stonewall riots, and it just kind of lets people express themselves a lot more when maybe out in public they might not be able to. Since you might not get to see people very often though, one thing that you need to make sure you do is you don't assume anything, and you do feel fine to ask. It's much better to ask and get an answer than to assume something. I think that just goes clear across the board, no matter what it is, whether it's name, boundaries, pronouns, whatever. Another big thing is talking to people on voice chats, and making sure you have ways to introduce people into voice chats, because it can be really difficult to just kind of put yourself out there vocally and have that first conversation. It's just so important.
Yeah. Discord is great for being inclusive. Any platform you use as a community admin is going to give you certain tools to include as many people as possible in your community. Make sure you use those tools. If you have Twitter, don't put it on private. If you have a Facebook group, don't put it on private. A huge issue that's been coming up lately is Facebook groups that are on private and nobody can join their activities and their events because nobody can see what it is, because you try to share it, and it's private only to people in your group, and nobody can see it. So they can't go to it. Talk to, push to talk and text to speech for Discord. You may have community members who are deaf or have trouble speaking. Those are tools that Discord gives you that'll help include people with disabilities in your community and to help you have as many people as possible talking in your community. Giving them a space to talk is great, but it doesn't really do anything if they don't actually talk and they can't actually talk. Not everyone can participate in game nights. Try to vary your online events. We did movie nights in the bus. We still do movie nights in the bus. We've been doing them for a long time. Rabbit is shutting down because I stopped doing movie nights, so Rabbit said, we're not doing it anymore. But there are other tools that you can use.
I was actually looking at a couple. Rave is a big one. Yeah, Rave is the number one that I've been seeing recently, just because it looks like it lets you use Netflix and YouTube and stuff like that. You cannot use Twitch, even for public domain stuff, is what I recently found out. I didn't try it, I was just looking into it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to
That
public
sounds like a
domain
good
stuff.
one. You didn't try it. Did you try to stream things
I
illegally?
mean, oh, let's go.
Yeah. Game
Not that we're
nights.
condoning the practice.
No, we're not, don't worry.
Game nights, make sure you have multiple platforms going on. Don't just use PC, don't just use Switch. Don't just use Switch because I don't have a Switch and I will be personally offended if you only have Switch game nights. Xbox, PS4, make sure you have as many people as possible on your admin team, or make sure you have as many consoles as possible going on during game nights, even if it's not admins who are running it. RT New York has a great, they do game nights like once a week, I think, and they have different consoles almost every week. Two nights a week? 2 nights a week. 2 nights a week. Holy shit. Like, are you okay? Consider religious restrictions on your activities when they're happening. When you join Red versus Jew, you get a message that says, if you are the type of Jew that observes Shabbat and you don't use electronics on Shabbat, that's up to you to practice. We're not going to shut down the server every Friday through Saturday nights. I think Muslim users can't use electronics during Ramadan. They can't eat during the day during Ramadan. Not that you need to know when Ramadan is every year, but just consider if you're going out to eat for a community event, if you have Muslim members, they can't join you for that event, or they can, but it's like really crappy and they're miserable the entire time and no one wants to be miserable during a community event. Chat channels. Make sure you have chat channels in your Discord to have as many people as possible. Give them the space to talk about what they want to talk about without overwhelming everyone else. RT has a sales spot. RT Gamer Girls has spots for different Let's Play channels. Give people a space to talk about their specific interests without overwhelming people, because when you have someone at 3 o'clock in the afternoon writing paragraphs upon paragraphs upon paragraphs about the women of Let's Play, it gets overwhelming and people don't want to talk in the general chat. So you are shutting down other conversations, but you don't want to do that, obviously.
We were running into a bit of an issue in RTDFW, and I don't necessarily want to say it was a problem, but it's just our page was starting to get a little bit cluttered with people making posts, trying to sell personal property, and like that's fine to do, but our Facebook pages, we want to primarily keep it centered around Rooster Teeth. So I went onto our Discord server and I specifically made a marketplace channel for people to do that. It's on the Discord server that you'll never use. But that is one of the accommodations that I did make for our groups. That way they can continue to do that, but also make sure that our main Facebook page does stay on topic, or as on topic as it can be.
Yeah. Basically, whatever you use, whatever platform you use, there will be tools at your disposal. I'm begging you, please use those tools. Please, dear God. Thank you.
Alright, so welcoming new members. Welcoming new members is probably one of the most challenging things, and it can be one of the most demanding things. It's really hard to put yourself out there, like I was saying earlier. It's hard to kind of even go that 50% sometimes and meet them halfway there. So if you're seasoned in the community, you feel comfortable talking to somebody new, make sure you feel okay to do it, but you should, or you can put yourself that 60% or a little bit further
don't go 90%, because I think Axial was saying you have a tag group. When people join, 50 people tag them all at once to say welcome. It's a
It's called a
little,
broad
It's
squad.
intimidating.
it's a little overwhelming.
It's not 50, it's literally 5.
Calm down.
There's not 50 people in my Discord. Come on, you're giving me more credit than I have. Come on, it's Arizona.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ways to put like this whole welcoming members thing is it's like going into a room that you have no idea what's inside. You may have heard stories about what's inside, you don't know what to believe. But having and opening up that door to immediately see somebody really nicely saying, hi, welcome, this is what's going on in here, and being that person that can make them feel like, oh, like this is a place I can actually be safe and comfortable in. It's something that's so, so important. And it can really just turn around a person's day. It can be exactly what that person needed if they've been really lonely, and that can be just the world to them.
When you join RT Gamer Girls, our bot asks you what your favorite RT show is or your favorite YouTube show. Have your bot do that. Open up a conversation. It's a lot easier to have someone respond to a question than to have them initiate a conversation when they're first joining a Discord.
It's really
Some
nice.
people are shy.
And then having that way of putting like your interest really immediately forward just makes people be like, oh, you like Rooster Teeth, obviously you're in the community group, but you also like, I don't know, like Game Grumps, or you like this game, or whatever, and then immediately be like, oh hey, I also like that, and having somebody also connect with you in that, on that level, just really makes you feel like you can kind of just start making these jokes, getting in and like really participate. One other thing which I touched on a little earlier was voice chat and kind of easing yourself into it. Some people aren't comfortable with their voice. Some people may not be vocal or mute or whatever, for whatever reason they may not want to talk. And so having ways for them to have an alternative and still be with something you is still important. So like not making sure that people aren't pressured to join voice chat. You don't want somebody to be muted and then everybody in the voice chat to be like, hey, you should come on and talk. Because if they're not comfortable with it, that just, it's not productive, it makes them feel bad, and you don't want to do that.
I've also put in new info channels for RT Game Girls and RBJ. Does anyone remember when they first signed up for Discord and they joined Discord and it was the most overwhelming thing in the world because there's a whole new platform that you had no idea how to use? Yeah, just show everybody's hands, yeah? Like, you don't say anything in your first community for weeks and weeks at a time because you have no idea how to use it. We have new info channels, and the invite code goes right to the info channel. So all you have to do is be able to scroll down on a phone to show, hey, this is a basic lowdown of how you use Discord. Please read this and just know what you're doing because it's so overwhelming.
I'm stealing that.
Please do, please. I welcome you to use that. I stole that from RT New York anyway, so.
New York's coming out with all of the.
Yeah, you guys are good.
Heck yeah.
I was going to say, one other thing that you can do to ease people in is have a text chat for the voice chat so that they can still communicate back and forth. I'm not sure if I had said that already, but it's something that it gives people an outlet so that they can still have a conversation without having to be vocal.
Yeah, it's a little, feels unwelcoming when you can't join a voice chat and everybody in the main chat is talking about what's happening in the voice chat. Yeah, it's a little isolating when that happens.
Making sure as an admin or moderator that you can say hi to somebody when they're coming in. Maybe you're busy and it's totally okay, but if you have the time and you see somebody pop in for the first time, being there and being in the text chat or voice chat, to tell them that you're there, welcome them, give them the lowdown, because yeah, you might have like an info page which is fucking cool, but like hearing it locally or in a more personal manner makes it a little bit easier and makes it a little bit more comprehensible and a little bit more just welcoming.
Yeah, feels really nice to have that sort of attention from the people who run the group. Makes you feel special.
Another big thing about welcoming new people is rules. Rules are a huge thing to have, and have because we have a lot of ghosts that actually join Arizona, so they never like get access to our chat, which is kind of weird. And it reminds me of Tucson because it is a ghost town, so it's always
Feels like brain.
yeah, exactly. But it's also good to be proactive and not reactive because you'll find yourself in very sticky situations if you allow people to push your buttons or push other people's buttons or not follow the rules yourself. It's really hard, especially if you're very new to having a community. You kind of want everyone to be your friend, you want everyone to like you, and you really don't want to be like, hey, you know, like that's against the rules, like, and, you know, being the bad guy in that situation. But it's really important to have you and your admins or mods on the same page in that aspect is, you know, at the end of the day, like, this is against the rules and we need to say something about it because if you don't, it kind of can get out of hand and then you're stuck in situations where you're like, please God help me, I don't know how to fix this. You don't want that to happen, it's not fun.
No mercy, TKO, someone breaks the rule, kick them out. Be flexible, but if you notice someone is being a consistent issue,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to sit down and talk to them at first, but if they continue to be an issue, some people will just continue to be an issue no matter what. You can't talk to them, you can't tell them to change. Kick them out.
Yeah, like Arizona has a 3 strikes, you're out rule, and to get strikes is actually really difficult for us because Arizona's really boring, so we don't have that much drama, thank God. So like, there's very specific things that get you to get a strike, and there's very specific things that will get you multiple strikes in one sitting. So it's kind of just like, our rules are very long, so.
I'm gonna try to get kicked out of RTX then. I'll come back to you and let you know what it takes. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, 3 strikes is, especially if you are nervous about doing like kicking people out or don't understand how to stop new people, because I don't know how to do that. It works pretty well from what I've found, and it kind of actually freaks people out when they hear that they got a strike. So it's a little tactical.
Actions have consequences. Who would have guessed?
Don't be a dick. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Hey girls. Chris, wrong.
So working with existing members, as an admin, you're probably going to have this happen a few times. If someone leaves the community, sort of like unexpectedly, one, never pressure them to come back. Always reach out to them, see if you can figure out what it is going on, if it's something that maybe another member said or did or is doing, or if it's something with the community's leadership that maybe they're not happy with, and ask if there's anything that you can do. If not, and they say, no, my decision is final, I don't want to come back, don't press the issue, just be there and be ready to welcome them back if they do choose to come back in the future. Never shut them out. Don't ever have the mindset of, well, they left the community, so screw them, right? They made their choice. Don't ever have that mindset. That is, one, that's not what the Rooster Teeth community is all about. We're all about welcoming everyone, regardless of circumstances, if they're, for the most part. Even if you can't, even if they don't want to stay, if it's an issue that is fixable, still fix it. So that way you don't have the problem again in the future. There's no point in just listening to them and them not saying, oh, we don't want to come back, and then not fixing anything, because there's a chance it's just going to cause more problems, more members are going to leave, and you're just facing the same issues. So it's best to go ahead and do what you can to resolve the situation right then and there, regardless of whether or not that person chooses to come back.
But like you brought up like leadership issues, don't take it personal if they tell you it's a leadership thing. Because it's hard to hear that like, hey, the reason I'm leaving is because of you guys. I've heard it before, it sucks. But at the end of the day, like just, I'm open for criticism, tell me what I did wrong, how can I fix it kind of thing, and reiterate that as publicly as you possibly can.
Exactly. If I'm doing something wrong in my community, call me out on it. Let me know what I can do differently to make this better.
Yeah, DMs, be nice about it.
Oh, yeah, in DMs, obviously. I don't make it public, but bring it to my attention.
Yeah, and if you do get called out, make it a conversation, not a confrontation.
Exactly.
So you want to discuss with people what's going on. You don't want them to get upset and then you get upset in response, because that isn't going to solve anything and it's going to snowball into the future.
Arizona
transparency.
can account for that. Don't let it snowball.
Transparency is key. And it comes down to listening to your members. At the end of the day, they are your loudest voice. You are here to represent them and their best interests. If they have something to say or if they bring an issue to your attention, listen to them and take it seriously. That is your job as an admin, is to represent and protect your community and its members.
And I said mostly before, because some people will join your community just to antagonize you. We have a community full of female gamers, yes. People join for the sole purpose of antagonizing people. It's going to happen, unfortunately, and it's your role as an admin to respond to that. You want to make the community as welcome to as many people as possible, but unfortunately, to be able to do that, sometimes you have to not be responsive to certain kinds of people. You have to shut it down real quick.
Yeah, we have a devil's advocate rule. Like, if you're going to be a devil's advocate, you're just going to get removed. No questions asked. You're not going to get talked to. It's just an immediate get out, because I don't want to deal with it. I have too much to deal with. Thank you.
Conversation, not confrontation.
And you can't always plan ahead for every possible scenario under the sun that's going to happen in your community, but you can prepare for as much as possible and still always be ready to jump in and react when something does happen that maybe you weren't prepared for, and just do everything that you can. Communicate with your fellow admins, figure out what's going on, and figure out what you need to do as a team together to resolve the issue as quickly as possible.
Which is another thing mods are great for, because sometimes it will happen that things explode and none of your admins are online, so you need your moderators to come in and say, hey, knock it off, if they don't. Consequences.
They're like the guardians of the community. And that's a lot of it is. It's facilitating and making things easier, trying to, make sure things go off with, I think the motto is controlled chaos. So.
Yeah, that's literally their job, is to moderate the conversation, make sure everyone's having a good time.
But find the ones that stay up all night, because those are the best. Because, once again, I like to sleep, and my moms do not, and I don't understand. Hence why they're mods.
We had an issue in RT Gamer Girls once where none of us were online for like maybe an hour tops, and what is the phrase, shit hit the fan? Well, everyone was gone, and we had to come back and clean it all up, and it was not fun. It would have been easier to have someone there just before we brought back on. It would have been a lot easier to have someone there watching the conversation while it was happening, instead of trying to clean it up after it was done, and people left.
It'd be amazing what can happen in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
When no one's watching.
Yeah.
All right.
Even
So to kind of cover everything, if anyone does have any questions, we do have a microphone over there. We're going to open up to Q&A. But just to kind of recap our points, make sure as many people can attend your events as possible. Make them centralized. That's your point.
Utilize
Sorry.
push to talk, text to speech.
how dare you take my point?
Tools.
I'm sorry.
Tools are at your disposal. Use them.
Yes, respecting boundaries, pronouns, and names is just so important. Creating a safe space. It doesn't have to be perfectly safe, but making sure people feel comfortable is a really big part of actually making a successful and community that people want to be a part of.
There's no such
Oh,
thing
we
as
left the
perfect.
button. Is that what you were laughing at?
Yeah, that's why I was laughing. That was
We
maybe
left the word but on ours.
left bone.
I'm so
That's beautiful.
I hate
Um, But there's no such thing as perfect. You're never going to be perfect. Your community's never going to be perfect, and there's nothing wrong with that. But experiencing things and learning from your experiences and being humble about it is your best way to go. But also realizing that your community is the loudest voice, and you need to understand them to understand what you're doing for the next day. So listen to them, because 90% of the time, they're going to make your life easier if you make their lives easier.
Be flexible. Subscribe to twitch.tv/Remington. It's gonna be a ground man, that's
If there are any questions.
Don't forget, you get a wristband, limited edition. Only 6 exist in the world at this point that don't already belong to someone else.
that are not going to be at my meetup. But if you have a question,
Yeah, please, questions.
Heck yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to stay up here and tell stories about
Oh, yeah.
how things can go wrong. Nobody wants that.
I have a lot.
This is more of like a administrator, moderator question, but
Sure.
since someone's not really breaking the rules, you can tell they're taking time on you, it's probably, I don't know, what would you do?
Yeah. No, we've had that before. We've literally had to kick someone out because that happened before.
So you
Keep
just
an eye
say,
on.
you're not breaking rules, but we can tell what's going on.
DM them. Say you're instigating, and that's not illegal, but we're keeping an eye on you, and we need you to calm down. Sometimes they just need to be told what they're doing. They may not legitimately realize what they're doing. They may not realize how many people they're making uncomfortable. So tell them, and if they continue to do it, give them a warning. Have some backing when you say, hey, we're gonna have to kick you out. Don't have it come out of nowhere. Have them say, we've told you before not to do this, and you've continued to do
Keep
this.
screenshots of every conversation you have in situations like that.
I have a
It will
phone on my
save
phone.
your life. Because sometimes people will forget that you already warned them and be like, well, we've never had this conversation before. And it's like, really, you can just scroll up and that conversation is there. But it's easier to just be like, here's the conversation. This is why.
Also had to bring in temporary rules, like when Endgame came out, we had to make a temporary rule that you couldn't talk about it anywhere except in the Endgame channel. People still talked about it in general. You know what? We kicked them. So, have your rules. Be flexible. Stick to it.
Always avoid Taylor.
Yeah.
would you like
Bring
to
Taylor.
spend?
Yeah! See, there you go. Brisbane, right there.
Going off of that, my thing too is always be careful with your tone. I always try to take a tone of always being polite and professional, never come off as confrontational. That's just going to cause more problems than it solves.
Make sure LOL is your punctuation.
Opening,
That saves lives.
Opening your message with something as simple as hey with an exclamation point just brings down the tone to you're in so much trouble to this is going to be a conversation and you need to deal with it.
And if you're having a bad day, because we all have those, make sure maybe if you are having a bad day and you don't feel like you can deal with it, talk to another admin or mod and have them help you with it, because you don't want to be the person that comes off and really makes it a confrontation. And sometimes that can happen. And so going to your fellow admins or mods is more than okay, because it's better to have somebody else help you with that than for it to go wrong.
Yeah, basically just because someone isn't breaking the rules doesn't mean
They're
you
not
can't
tired.
confront them about it.
Yes.
If someone wanted to join, like one of the booster teams, like, for example, like the LGBT server, I don't know if it's a Discord server or if it's like a Facebook page, how would somebody do that?
For RT LGBT, we have a Discord. It is linked on our Twitter, which is at RT LGBT.
Also-
RT_LGBT.
If you head downstairs in your registration, RT World has a fantastic booth set up right now where you can get a passport.
It's an outside hallway,
And
not
I'm
an
really excited
expo.
about this because I think I have the most stickers going right now.
Right.
Passport, stickers, they have information down there, rtwcommunity.net.
Has all of our.
All of the communities listed in a searchable function. rtworldcommunity.net? RTW community? RT World Community. Oh, now everyone wants their, oh, they're like, oh,
There's
okay,
four more and everyone's ready.
Let's go for it.
Have you guys found that more niche communities build off of your more inclusive, like, groups? Like, when you find, say you find a super inclusive group, do you find folks that say, I love this group, but I want like, this much of that group?
I think channels help with that.
I think channels a lot with that, as well as I think certain groups can have a certain maybe feel about them that make people a certain type of group feel more welcome there. I know in RT LGBT we have a relatively high autistic community, and it's really cool, and I'm glad that we can make a space for that. Just because of the way that we have our rules set up, and I think that we do often see a little bit of some niche communities pop up, like our RT LGBT Minecraft server has like at least 10 to 20 people, the same people on every day, like, and it's really fucking cool.
If you have an idea for a community that may be building off of a community that already exists, reach out to the admins of the community that already exists and see if they're willing to work with you. I wanted to make an upstate New York community, but it wasn't going to work all on its own. I reached out to the RT New York community and worked with them about getting more upstate stuff going on. Reach out, talk to them.
Yeah, like Arizona, definitely, because we're so spread out, a lot of our stuff is online. So like there's a podcast that's affiliated with us. We have a Minecraft server starting up and like a D&D game starting up. So it's kind of just like, usually people are like, hey, yo, I want to do this, who want to do this with me? And then it kind of just happens and it stays in the community usually, which is kind of fun to just watch everyone like exist and be like, haha, I did that because I'm here. So it's fun. So you should do it.
If
Definitely.
you have ideas about it, reach out to your admin.
Yeah.
They will
Just
100%
harass
be
them.
willing to work with you.
Just harass them. Tell them that we sent you.
Just harass
Yeah.
the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
specifically
that-
tell them that Axial sent you and they'll know.
Yeah, for instance, if it was an RT LGBT, like, shoot off, you can just harass me, like, you can throw the bands at me, it's fine. I'm joking, don't.
If you have the right picture up, I would tell you what you call it, but we don't have the right picture up.
One little thing about, one little thing about these communities is, I actually, RT LGBT used to be RT Trans Economics. It is the same Discord server, it's renamed, it got rebranded, it's the same Twitter and everything. We could go back far enough and see RT Trans and Allies as having meetups. And the reason that actually did not stay around is because I think I actually went a little too niche. We didn't completely have the same amount of engagement that was sustainable. And so interest kind of died down, and eventually, actually my team lead for the Guardians is what had me rebrand that and actually come back as RT LGBT.
Now it's a huge community.
Of amazing, lovely people that if you're here, I love you.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm kind of curious about specifically with the instigation thing, being present in RT Gamer Girls, I've definitely seen some of that shit going on. And also some other servers that I've been in and even been a mod in.
Yeah, that's
in
okay,
the
call us
past.
out specifically, that's fine.
No.
All the people, it's fine.
That's why I
Please
also
call
love
me
you.
out, please.
I'm only calling you out a little. But anyway, getting to the point, what do you do to like show when instigation is being dealt with? Because that was something that like when I've been a mod in the past has been hard. Like how do you not call someone out in a way that puts them on that defensive footing while also letting everyone else know properly that yes, you have done something?
That's a
I
tough one.
would take
That's a very difficult
I think
one.
we'll all take that one in separate
Yeah.
sections, okay.
Arizona deals with this quite often because my children don't know how to read sometimes. And it's great, and I love it. And if you can't tell that I'm being sarcastic, please, I am. The way that I do it is I kind of basically spam my admins and mods until they respond to me, because sometimes they don't have their phones, and I'm basically like, hey, this is the situation that's happening, this is what's going on, and basically what I do, and I think it's the easiest for us, is I write a huge, very long, and I always start with, this is getting short, and it never is, paragraph that goes in our announcements that's basically like, this is what happened, this is the situation, this is how it was dealt with, and I do this usually after I talk to the person, just so that they understand that, hey, this is a thing that's coming out. And basically, I make a big point of like adding everyone and being like, look, this is what happened, this is how I fixed it, this is how it's been dealt with. Not to name names, but this is what's going on, this behavior will not continue. If you can't read the rules, can't follow the game, you gotta get out, kind of thing. And that's what Arizona does, and it usually works. Thankfully, we've only had 2 instances where we've had to do that, but it's seemed to help. So that works for us. So it's kind of a call out, but not. It's mostly like I'm calling everyone in my Discord out, whilst calling the one one person out, so it's good. A little bit of shame, but not too much that's illegal.
I do think it's a hard balance between being as transparent as possible with the rest of your members who definitely saw what happened go down and not calling out the person who may still be in the community, but you may have had to kick out, which has had to happen before. But like Axial said, making an announcement that acknowledges that what happened without calling out any names, and just a general statement of, hey, just as a reminder, these are our rules. If you break them, you will be approached, you may be kicked out, you may be given a strike. Just reminder, because it's fresh in everyone's mind, this is what's up, without calling anyone out. It may be difficult not to do that.
It's very hard.
There have been times when we've had members either acting out or acting inappropriately or instigating, and usually our approach to that is kind of going off what Axial was saying, call them out without calling them out. What we'll do is, I've done this in a couple different communities, we'll put out sort of like a general reminder post pointing out specific rules that that person was in violation of, without actually saying that there was a person in violation of those rules. So it's sort of a thing, you put it out there so you know that they'll see it, but at the same time you're not necessarily pointing a finger at, oh, there was a person who was breaking these rules. So no one feels called out, but everyone is still made aware, and it also makes the person aware that we are keeping an eye on you, and if anything else happens, then we will have to take additional measures.
That's great. And very good strategy. I actually need to talk to you guys about all of this stuff in the future. I think it's probably good. Yeah. The way RT LGBT generally deals with instigation and other issues is that we have four stages of not punishment, but consequences. Consequences. So we have informal warning as our first, which is they get like a DM, hey, this is going on. We like to keep some amount of privacy with that. If they continue to do so after we DM them and hopefully had a conversation about what the issue was, we will, and they do it again in a text chat or voice chat, we will call them out right then and there for that issue, because we do try to keep, like you guys are talking about, some amount of calling people out without calling them out in the very first stage. But if you're willing to kind of go past that again, then we're willing to kind of just make sure people know that this is not okay and immediately know it's not okay, and that we're going to take action to that. In our community, that generally comes in the form of instigation, can come in the form of gatekeeping. And so making sure that people immediately know that that's not going to be tolerated here has really improved some of the way that people feel like response time might be slow. And so immediately responding to that and immediately making sure that people around know, hey, if you responded to this, this is not okay, is something I think is pretty important. After that, we go to a 24-hour kick. And then after that, we go to a ban. We try to be pretty lenient because, things might be with text, of course. Everything can be misconstrued. You can't always tell tone of voice. And so we try to be pretty lenient, but we have limits to that.
Also lean on Discord's terms of services, because they will be your best friend. And I'm just trying to go through our announcements channel, because I know this has happened before, where something went down with Discord in general, where something pretty crappy and creepy was happening, and it very quickly made ripples in every community that used Discord. And it's okay to post Discord's terms of services and at everyone and say, these are the rules that you agree to when you sign up for Discord in general. If you're doing this really shady behavior and or illegal behavior, you're breaking not only our rules, but Discord's rules, and we're gonna end up having to kick you. I will say, maybe don't abuse the at everyone tag unless it's super
Yeah,
super important.
And don't give anyone except admins the ability to add everyone. That's just asking for trouble.
Everything. I love @everyone and will die for @everyone. It is my favorite thing of all. But
I'm gonna respect.
for Arizona, I forgot. I mentioned earlier, being a devil's advocate or like trying to do that, like starting an argument, that is a true strike warning, which means you're on your final warning. It's automatic, you don't even get a conversation about it. If you're gonna try and start crap, I'm not dealing with it. It's 2 strikes immediately, so that might help if that's an issue.
All right, we got time for one more.
We have 1 more bracelet, so.
Hi, what happens if you, I'm trying again. What would be the best way to respond if you, admin or one, feels unsafe in a certain situation on a group or Discord server?
Specifically for admins or mods or for any community member?
Specifically for admins or mods, because I've happened to me a couple of times where things have gotten so bad where I just had to leave my own servers because things have gotten just so bad and so toxic.
Well, for one, if you're an admin for an RT community, join RT World and reach out to someone there, because that is a group literally full of other admins who will take your back and who will support you and be there for you, and who may be able to step in and take over for a little while if you don't feel safe. Your safety is always #1 priority. If you have to step away to do that for yourself, don't feel bad even a little bit about having to do it.
Also, talk to your team. Let them know what's going on, and if you don't feel safe in that environment, let them handle it for you.
It's weird.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with stepping away from your own community if it's a toxic environment. Any more questions, comments, concerns, criticism?
Or how was to get out of, well, we'll accept that too.
Credit cards that you would like to donate to us.
Yeah.
Open credit limits. Thank you for joining us today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all for having me.
I was told not to say that.